15 seconds ago. Hey, everybody. My name is Peter Berberian, and this is the inaugural Photoserve podcast. I'm here with my guest, Scott McDermott, and we're going to talk a little bit about photography. We're going to talk about desserts. We're going to talk about how you got into all of this crazy game, as well as why don't we start with where you're from and things like that.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure and honor to be the first guest.
We're on to. Well, Scott was our Photoserve member of the month last month, and I'm sure his life has changed since then. And these questions are just basically based off the questions that I asked for the member of the month.
Yeah, TMZ's been following me around ever since.
So tell me a little bit of where'd you grow up, and
Sure.
So on and so forth.
I am an American who grew up in Europe, in Switzerland and the Netherlands for a few years, and basically finished high school in Switzerland, and then came back to the U.S. to go to Ithaca College for photography.
Right, Ithaca College,
upstate, and but before that, I actually took a year off after high school, before college, and traveled. Did a null semester out west in the Rockies, and then went to Nepal and did a trek around the Himalayas.
Oh, wow.
And took a lot of pictures. I was really into the outdoors at that point, and sort of climbing, hiking, all that kind of stuff. And then during that year, took all these pictures and realized that you could actually make a living as a photographer in that world. And so that was sort of my goal at that point, was to go into outdoor adventure photography. And then
we should really be showing the outdoor adventure photography while we're doing this. We're just kind of going through his other work. So why don't you put it on him, and I'll toggle to the other work.
Sure. Yeah. We could start with that.
Yeah, and we could show some of that.
So that's sort of what the original idea was, and then went to school and was sort of upstate for about 3 years, I guess, and learned all kinds of stuff, and realized I should really come down to New York City and become, really learn the trade through assisting and that kind of thing. So I ended up coming down here and getting an internship with a guy called Todd Heyman, who was a still life photographer at the time, and he was, well, the story of how that went down is it was spring break of my junior year, I believe, and I decided I wanted to come down to New York City and get an internship, but I had no contacts and had no clue really, and took the bus to Port Authority and got off and walked down 42nd Street to Times Square, took a left. And
you had never been to New York before?
Not. I mean, as a kid, I was here, but I'd never really spent any time here.
Right. Here's some of the pictures. I'm assuming that these are some of the pictures from Nepal.
Right,
Sorry,
exactly.
I'm going to jump
in.
There
we go. Yep.
This is the first time. It's my first time using a computer as well. So
you're doing great.
Yeah. Thanks. I got this all running off my Commodore 64. I like stuff like that one too. All right. So here's the pictures we're going to go back to you walking down 42nd
totally.
Street.
No, so we can just catch up. So this is stuff of kind of what I was shooting at that time, which is, outdoor trips I was taking. And, this is in the White Mountains in New Hampshire, just sort of friends of mine. And this is sort of, the ultimate goal for me at that point was to shoot for like Patagonia or the North Face, or that was like really what I wanted to do. But then after sort of, school and stuff, I realized that, so this was from Ithaca. I did a project about the football team, because growing up in Europe, there's really no football in the sort of the way it is.
And guys
here.
Don't look like that in Europe. Yeah.
And those are athletes. And then I came that summer. I did an internship. I did this project on skateboarding in the city.
And does that bring us to getting off on 42nd Street?
We're a little bit after that now. Okay. So this internship. So I walk down 42nd Street. I take a left. I'm literally off the bus with my luggage, and there's a big photo shoot going on in the middle of Times Square.
No way.
Like Corvettes with models on them, and water trucks spraying the street, and lanes blocked off, and I'm like, okay. Wow. So I hang out and I watch the shoot for about 4 or 5 hours. Like there's nothing. The whole shoot.
Like you and your luggage.
I just stand there.
Do you have a place to stay?
I was crashing with my sister's ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
You know, who's now her husband. They got back together. It all worked out.
It all worked out good. So do you know who so tell me more about the shoot.
I have no idea. Like I was so green that I thought photography was you go with your camera alone and you take pictures. Like the concept of a crew, lighting.
Oh yeah, I
like,
mean
no idea.
You know, I mean I think that's kind of
right.
really the way most of us grow up.
Yeah,
is thinking
totally.
About that.
You don't really get it, you know, like and just the production that went into it just blew me away, and I thought it was a film at first, you know, and then realized it was photography, and so when they were finished and wrapping, I went over to the guy who was, you know, using the camera, so I knew he must be the photographer.
One would believe so.
Yeah. And I said, you know, I'm looking for an internship. Do you know anybody? And he was like, nah, I don't really. But why don't you call this guy Todd Heyman? So I said,
who was the guy? Do you know who the photographer was?
Well, as I was walking away, I was looking at all the equipment, and it said Todd Heyman Photography on it. Mm-hmm. He was Todd. So
Man, that rascal.
So I actually went back and I was like, "Are you Todd?" And he was like, "Yeah, call me." So and then I ended up working for him that whole summer, and like that's how it started.
That, you know what? That is like the best. I've gotten off the bus. And like look how fortuitous
this is. Ridiculous.
It's like, oh my God.
I gave myself a week to find an internship, and in the first 20 minutes plus 5 hours of standing around, I scored it. So
that's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, and Todd was amazing to me, and you know, I worked there all that summer, and then I went back to school and came back, and then these are like old Polaroids of me assisting, of like all these wacky situations you get into when you're assisting. I love those old
Polaroids. Yeah.
This is like some guy, like this is a guy. So I'm standing in for like the subject, and this is some dude who stopped a bank robbery and saved the bank $200,000, and that's like $200,000 in cash that, you know, they had him. So whatever, this is some dude who was a car stacking genius, you know. So this whole, you know, that shoebox of, now it's all digital, you know, but back then you would get like a Polaroid from the shoot and they'd be like, here, you want it? And, you know, so then I started shooting, after school. I came back down in the city, and I was assisting freelance through Todd and the people that worked there, but I started shooting like sports whenever I could, which was like the X Games, which is what this was, Winter X Games. And that's weird. There's a couple doubles in there. But
I went back.
Oh, okay, right.
I went back. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then but it kind of was mostly event sports at the time, and
street style BMX. That's my jam.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
there
it.
We go. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, but I was always trying to do it different. Like this is a panoramic. Like that's Holga. So I was trying to like put some sort of twist on it. That's like cross-processed panoramic, like Hasselblad X-Pan.
Oh, that's cool. That's a cool camera.
Yeah, I love that camera. Yeah, I've always wondered. I always thought about putting a digital back on that thing.
Could it happen? You talk to somebody?
It would take, you know, some serious machining.
Yeah.
To like peel the back off and somehow get a door to work, but that you know, that panoramic format is pretty amazing. It would probably fit on one of the like bigger phase, you know, type backs.
Yeah.
I think there's the real estate on the sensor to get it all in there. But I mean, you know, you could basically do that with cropping, but it's just so cool to see it through the camera that way. You know?
Yeah. It would be an interesting project.
Yeah.
That'll never happen.
No. And there's not enough money in it for them to actually make that.
Right.
So.
Or not, you don't want to pay enough money for the one-off.
Anyway, so it started this kind of what I was shooting at the time while assisting and you know, trying to get it together. And then it was like golf and tennis, U.S. Open tennis stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah. This was the X Games in San Francisco. That's the Bay Bridge. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think that's 2000 when they did it, like on the Embarcadero. Yeah. So lots of that stuff, and I hooked up with Corbis back in the day and sort of syndicated some of this, and got some decent. Okay, so this is early experimentation with mounted cameras before GoPro.
Oh, really?
So go to the next shot, and that's how we did that.
Oh, jeez.
Which is on film. So we had no idea what we're shooting until we get home. And this trigger he has in his finger there is like an old art. That's my cousin who is a mechanical engineer. And so I would ski behind him with that trigger firing frames. And
it doesn't look like he's happy with you here.
It was extremely heavy, and it would wobble and like, you know, that's a backpack with a metal frame with like a clamp on it and stuff. It was, as I said, early experimentation.
Yeah,
and then GoPro came out and it was like, oh, all right.
It takes ingenuity to do stuff like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
That's another Holga image,
Yeah,
right?
another Holga from
I love that
Games.
I love that Holga. Flash on camera on a Holga is beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And just all the weird stuff that happens with the light leaks, and you know, you never really know what's going to come out.
Shooting right into the sun is just beautiful there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's Shaun White or one of those
Cool.
you know, X Games dudes. I think that might be the U.S. Open snowboarding. But yeah, I mean, so I was, you know, trying to make it different and not just shoot like the big long lens sports thing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, Dave Burnett went to the Olympics with with the 4x5
yeah,
camera,
totally.
so
Yep.
I mean,
same,
that gives it a
same
different
kind of deal. Exactly, because everyone it's like, you know, you're in a media situation with like 20 people right next to you, or 100 or whatever, and so, you know, just the contrarian in me wants to shoot something different.
How do you separate your work? Especially, it's how do you separate the work out?
Right.
And I would think even now it's harder because everybody's pretty much running the same gear.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, you could at least select your camera,
Right.
your film,
You
your
could shoot
film
a wacky
type,
film,
different
yeah.
types of films, different formats and
Yeah.
such. It's probably harder.
There's also less pressure to get the picture in the world fast. Like now, it's got to be out there like by
man.
the end of the event.
Right.
You know, like, so then you could go home, you could process it weird, you could do all kinds of, you know, other stuff. So this is like all still sort of that event stuff that I was doing at the time. This like gymnastics, like somewhere in Long Island, and yeah, U.S. Open tennis, but it was I was getting crushed. Like Getty was there with 20 guys, and I was the guy from Corbis, and it was like not really cutting it, you know. So I asked them like, what else can I shoot? And they said, well, you could go to like Fashion Week, and I did this like behind the scenes thing on Fashion Week, which is some of this stuff. And then they also said you could do like red carpets whenever you want, you know, like any night. There's a red carpet in New York somewhere.
I'm gonna think red carpet's coming up here.
Yeah,
Okay.
This is the fashion. Okay,
There we go, yes.
So this is red carpet stuff, and what I would do is I was in it for like the celebrity, you know, portrait element. Like not so much. I don't care about the red carpet thing. Yeah, they could sell it, but I would do that to it. I would Photoshop out the backgrounds and crush the black and white and try to get something that looks more like a portrait.
Yeah. Because you want to do something
For my portfolio.
Yeah, of
you know?
course.
The Corbis people were fairly horrified when I sent it to them. They were like, we can't syndicate that. Like that's, you know, there's all kinds of ethical issues with, you know, it's a news event. And I was like, well,
right.
sure, you know, use it straight up. But then so anyway, and they sort of took notice that I was messing around with stuff. And
here's another one. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So this is sort of shows you like what I was up to at that point. And those are great. I mean, what happens at a lot of those premieres is people go in, they've seen the movie 4 times already, and then they come out 20 minutes later. So if you hang around, you can sometimes just get a shot of them.
There's a little secret.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I had this little kind of mini book of celebrities that I had put together.
Oh, Liza, look at that. That's old school. If
Yeah.
that's not old school Hollywood, I don't know what is.
So, and then it was at this magical time for like a minute where Corbis had this idea they had their high-end stuff, which is like, you know, outtakes from like Vanity Fair shoots, which is like Corbis outline. And then they had the low-end, you know, this like red carpet stuff. And they were like, what if we make a medium brand, which is like film festival portraits, where we send someone with like lighting and you know, a producer, and we shoot the film festival thing, and then it's like, you know, better than red carpet but not quite the production value of a full shoot. So they sent me to Sundance. They were like, well, you've done this, you know, sort of weird in between thing, why don't you go do that? And I did. I went to Sundance with a producer, and we shot like 50 people in a week, you know, with like lighting and stuff.
That's
and,
awesome.
You know, so, and it looked way better. So I think coming up next, maybe, yeah, okay. So this is the first shot at the first Sundance I did, and we show up, and we're supposed to meet Nick. We're supposed to go to the first opening press conference with Robert Redford.
Right.
And as we like literally put our hands on the door, they all open and everyone starts streaming out of the auditorium, and we're like, what's going on? And we're like an hour late. You know, like, that's weird. And then we go to meet Nick like an hour later, and his PR's all mad because we didn't show up. And we're like, what's going on? You know, turns out the producer had like the calendar time zone bump thing happen. He came from LA, and like everything was off an hour. So,
and he didn't have it on all.
Yeah,
he didn't have it. Yeah.
So we're like all scrambling, and Nick's already on to some other interview,
Right.
and the producer's trying to smooth over the PR, and Nick gets up and goes to the bathroom, which is that door. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to set up. I'm just going to set up my stuff. And he's going to come out of the bathroom eventually.
There you go. There you go.
So he comes out of the bathroom. He's like, oh, we're doing this? And he's like, okay, I'll give you one of these. I'll give you one of these. And like 2 other things.
Bing, bang, I'm done.
And that's sort of my
that's really funny.
beginning of, you know, the film festival routine.
These are great.
So this is some film festival stuff from various ones over the years. I've done Toronto, Cannes, Venice, Rome, and Sundance. Every year I've done Sundance like 10 years in a row now, and it always, you know, people are doing the press tour and they're ready to be shot in basically any way. You know, they're
Right.
getting the word out for whatever their movie is,
whatever the project is.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the problem with the celebrity photography thing is it's a chicken or egg problem. You know, no one will hire you to shoot anybody unless you have a whole portfolio of celebrities. And how do you get that portfolio if you can't, you know,
shoot anybody?
So for me, that was the way around that problem. You know,
you launched into it by just from that red carpet thing. Most guys would go, that's not how I see my career going.
And I was lucky enough to, you know, be in the right place at the right time and be the guy they sent to Sundance. And then sort of the ball was rolling after that. And then all this stuff got syndicated, you know, through Corbis. And you know, it's been up until Corbis was bought out was a pretty decent, you know, little revenue stream.
Right.
So, and then, you know, once you've got a pretty solid group of folks, then like I just shot this one this year at Sundance.
And that was since we've had lunch.
Yeah.
I know you were on your way.
That's right.
We had lunch.
So that's like the latest one. And
we had lunch in like late December or early January.
Early
January.
It was right before I think I was going to Sundance.
Yeah.
So then that led to other stuff. Like this is USA Network did a thing a few years ago called Characters Welcome. And they did like a profile on a musician, an architect, a chef. And so I shot all the stills part of that. There's some book covers, got some, Entertainment Weekly editorial stuff.
Pee-wee.
Yeah, I like to say that the one on the right is Pee-wee and the one on the left is Paul Rubens. It's very different. Like when Pee-wee's on, then he's like a completely different person. And when Pee-wee's off, like Paul is quite serious.
But like Paul didn't want to like become like have to take off the Pee-wee outfit to be Paul.
No, like just
he was okay with being Paul.
It's like that.
Oh,
like he'll walk on the set and be like, "Where's my light?" Like, you know, like super serious.
Right.
And then be like, "You ready for Pee-wee?"
Oh, no way.
And then goes in the full. Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's pretty amazing.
And he's looked exactly the same for like 30 years.
He hasn't. He really hasn't aged.
Right.
He really hasn't aged.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
This was on the set of The Following for Entertainment Weekly. Sent me to. They shoot out in. I don't know if it's still going on, but out in the Brooklyn Navy Yard. Yeah.
That was one of those shows that I could never really figure out if it was in New York or not.
Right. Yeah, it could have been. Yeah, it looks like it is, but it could have been anywhere.
They tell you it is.
Yeah. No, it was all Steiner and the Navy Yard and
right.
Wherever they had to go on location. Yeah. So this was one of those where he's shooting. This is them doing some action scene, and then I get 15 minutes to shoot him in 5 different environments in the sleet, like in a winter day, and where it's like horribly cold and uncomfortable. But he's a pro.
Okay,
guy. Awesome.
Okay, guy. Yeah. Seems like an okay guy.
I shot him a few times, and he's just he's done it long enough. He knows that if he plays ball, he's out of there quicker.
Yeah. Before he got his break, he worked at like the crappiest bar, on the Upper West Side on 72nd, like All Star Cafe. It was like downstairs.
Wow,
it was really dumpy.
That's a long time ago.
Good burgers. This is like right before Animal House.
Okay, wow,
yeah.
Way back.
Yeah, way back. Way back. Before I was in a bar.
Yeah,
or either that or I look amazing for a 70-year-old.
70 years old, right? Right. So this is like a book cover. I've been lucky enough to shoot all of his books, or all the last 4 of them anyway. He's amazing.
Tim Gunn.
Yeah. I've also shot 3 of Snooki's books.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
This is the thing
There are
that
3.
baffles me. Snooki knows how to read or write.
Well, yeah.
She's you know.
And they're bestsellers.
Are they really?
Yeah.
So do people just buy them, or do they actually buy them and read them? Is there a lot of pictures? It must be, because you're only
they're
doing the
novels.
covers.
They're novels. Like the 2 are novels. One is a lifestyle guide. She's a lot of fun, I have to say. She's a lot of fun.
I would think that she is. We have a little place down at the Jersey Shore,
right?
And we do go into that bar sometimes. I'm always like, that's the bar that this is where Snooki got punched, that sucker punched.
I think they're coming back. I think
that's
shows
what I
on.
heard.
Yeah,
that's what I heard.
Everything comes back.
Maybe there's a 4th book.
Yeah. So this is he has a book that came out, and we did all these crazy cover ideas, and this is one, I don't know if you know, Tina Fey has one called Bossy Pants that she did, and she did, the cover is her with these massive man arms, like big, hairy, like fat man arms, and he wanted to do like the wussy version of like, so that's his makeup artist's arms.
It's really funny. But the whole thing is like, I don't really look at it like they're
just,
weird, you know?
It's just subtle enough where you're like, wait, is he that skinny?
Yeah.
Which I think is his idea.
Oh, I like this photo.
Yeah, he does a thing in his stand-up about how it's too loud in clubs to talk to anybody.
Right.
So we sort of riffed on that, and yeah.
Apparently, if you put your finger over the other person's ear like this and just hold back that little, whatever that's called. What is that called?
I don't know.
And you hold that back, you can talk to them, and they'll hear you at a club. But the person who did it to me said you should probably ask somebody before you do it to them.
Explain.
It was at the big opening night of WPPR recently, and I'm chatting with somebody, and I was like, I have a really hard time hearing in this. I've been to way too many metal concerts, and so I have a really hard time hearing this. She goes, no, just do this.
Wow.
And it was,
So you have to do it to the other person.
You
they can't do it to themselves.
I guess they could do it to themselves, but
You're like transmitting the sound through your
Mm-hmm.
finger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Or you could just carry a megaphone.
Right.
That would work.
Yeah. So
or a spade.
Yeah, he just a whole bunch of cover ideas that this was so then it's sort of also some advertising stuff came along. This was one of the Top Chef Texas campaign for I forget what season that was, but yeah, they went down to Texas, so it was this whole Texas set thing, and yeah, there we go.
It's funny. We were talking about Top Chef the other night.
Yeah,
I didn't even know it was still on.
Yeah,
were they in season like 24 or something?
Yeah,
like that?
I don't know. Yeah, going strong now.
Yeah.
So that was at the end of that shoot. Doing a big campaign shoot like that, you've got all the contestants to shoot in 2 different outfits. There's time slots with this massive Excel sheet of which set, which person, when. You have to, and then no overtime because like it's super expensive on the whole studio and the stage and the crew and the whole deal. And we did it. We nailed the day and got everything. Everyone's done and happy and it's cool. And she's like, I just got this dress from Roberto Cavalli. Can you shoot me in it? I was like, of course.
You have to say
no
yes
problem.
to that, right?
So we got these pictures as a bonus.
Good pictures. And there was 3 of her. I didn't know she was triplets. There's 3 of them.
So then I started doing, this was a cool thing for the first season of Mr. Robot. They wanted to do the gallery shoot on their set instead of like the normal sort of day on Seamless because it's such a visually edgy show. And it was one of those amazing assignments where they said, go shoot, the edgiest thing you can. And I would shoot a day and send it in, and they would just write back like edgier, like less focus, and just really push the envelope, and it was super fun, and got a really cool bunch of pictures out of that, and they had just really amazing sets. That's like inside the Coney Island place where there's all this neon and like cool, so yeah, that also they sort of got me in the union for sets to shoot, what's it called, on-set photography.
Oh, that's great.
So it was an amazing bonus because it's not easy to get in.
Do you have to shoot with the blimp?
Used to.
Yeah, not anymore because the
now
winder.
I mean, that used to be a major thing, but now with mostly the Sonys, but the new Nikon D850 has a completely silent mode.
Oh wow!
So you can shoot on the screen, and you know the blimps are sort of obsolete.
So there's no shutter kind of.
No, it's completely electronic and silent.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
that's killer. So I'm
even
assuming
the
you're a
blimps
Nikon. I'm assuming you're a Nikon shooter.
I am. Yeah, have been since the beginning, and I stuck with it. They had some dark years.
I started with I started on Nikons when I was younger, and then I went to Canon because it's just the digital cameras were better.
Yeah, for a while
and
there,
the autofocus was better.
Yep.
And then I got rid of that, and I came back.
Yeah, no, a lot of people did, but I just stuck it out, and now I think that D850 is like the best camera out there.
I have a D600, so it's not as it's full frame, and it's got a little pop-up flash, which I love.
Yeah.
So
yeah. So this is more Mr. Robot stuff. And it was the first season too, so no one really knew what was going to happen. You know, it was
no one knew it was going to
cool.
be a huge hit. Yeah.
This is, and then just some more sort of set photography. This is Friday Night Lights.
Let's just go through some of these images and let's just ask,
totally.
Let's just ask some questions. You know, we actually do have
real questions.
We actually prepared some questions. So let's just talk about your photographic influences. Like, who do you love? Like, when somebody, like, if you're going to go an art show, or who are you gonna see? Who do you like the most?
Albert Watson I've always been a huge fan of. Just like his approach to especially black and white, you know, has been an influence on me. I think just the way he has like that hard black in a picture that. You know, that was
very much like that Clint Eastwood photo that you.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go to the other.
Sure.
I'm gonna go to the other folder that we have here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, actually, just skip forward in the original one. Okay. It's not in there.
It's not here.
No, it's in the other one though.
Okay.
I got a whole section on that project.
Well, just keep talking and I'll find it. I'll just keep talking and I'll find it. Like I said, first time with the computer, guys.
There's a question online. Do you miss the classic methods?
Classic methods of film?
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't. I have a weird relationship to film. I obviously used it back in the day because that's all there was, but I was never really happy with it. Now that like digital's there and you have so much more control. Like back, you know, with film, you were buying an emulsion that was decided on by somebody. You were processing it, which was done by someone else in a certain way. Then it was being printed usually by someone else in their way. And I personally would have to convey what I wanted, but it would never quite get across. And I always felt there was like some sort of lost in translation, you know, stuff that was happening. And I never just back then that was the way it was, and you didn't really.
You really had to, because I did print black and white dark images for a long time.
Yeah.
You know, for Danny Clinch and Mario Testino and.
Yeah, that's your world.
Yeah, that was my world, and you no exaggeration, you'd spend days working on something sometimes for a specific look, and it just wasn't gonna. Sometimes it just wasn't going to be able to be achieved.
Sure.
You know, and with the digital, you're able to do everything.
Yeah.
Some people take it too far.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, sure. Yeah. But still, if that's their aesthetic, fair enough. You know, it's like, you know. But and then there's all the sort of expense of it. Like when I was first starting out, you get a call to like shoot something, you'd be excited, and then you'd be like, oh my God, like now I got to go buy like $800 worth of film, and then I got to go process, and I got to owe the lab, you know, $1,500, and I'm going to get paid for 90 days. And like, you know, that whole thing a couple times a month is like cash flow wise was horrible.
It's a little difficult.
So I don't miss that. And then like the physical space of it all, like binders and shelves and plastic sleeves and, you know, whatever, however you archive your stuff is like, you got to have it somewhere.
You gotta have it.
And, you know, so all that stuff combined, like I don't really, you know, like the digital thing is pretty great. Like, you know, I know people are nostalgic for film, but for me, I don't miss it. You know,
how are you? And we're going to get back to these really Albert Watson-like image. How are you doing your backups? Are you running a RAID system in the house? Are you doing cloud? Are you doing cloud storage?
A little of both. I don't put stuff on the cloud as much as I should, but I have 2 massive RAIDs, like 60 terabyte type stuff like that. That one is for all RAWs and one's for final images.
Right.
And yeah, and then I try to put the final stuff. I need to automate that, actually. That's something that's like a to-do list item. But as it is now, I try to like think, oh, what's the last thing I put on the cloud, and then I have to go dump it. But yeah, that's ideally, it's not
Right. You should
in
have the
my
final
office.
like portfolio prints.
Yeah, somewhere
on the
else,
cloud.
out of the building. Yeah.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure there's some web services that you
Yeah.
could look into. For
I
that.
have it all set up on Amazon, like whatever that called, the Amazon Cloud service, you know.
Yeah.
But and it works great. It's just one of those things you have to remember to do the way I have it set up anyway.
Right.
Which is, should do better on that.
Right. So let's talk about this more,
Okay,
these
yes.
Albert Watson type
So
images.
this
I
project-
printed for Albert Watson too. Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. So that hard black is some of your work.
No, it's not. I made some big, like 4-foot murals for his
Awesome.
studio at one
Yeah.
point, like the monkey hand with the
Oh,
gun.
yeah, sure.
And
Cool. Yeah.
Mick Jagger as the
Nice. He had a big Taschen show at the gallery in LA like a couple months ago, and I caught that, which was really fun. But yeah, so this project came along as a pro bono thing that I got approached to do for Nelson Mandela's foundation a couple years before he died. They wanted to make his birthday Mandela Day, which was a day of community service in any way that you can in your community across internationally.
Right.
I don't know if it really caught on. I think in South Africa it actually is it is a holiday. I just did a job for a South African client, and they were telling me it was. So it did catch on somewhere, but the idea was International Day of Community Service on his birthday, July 18th. So this campaign was initially, they came to me and said, we want to shoot all these hands of famous people saying, I pledge to be a part of the foundation.
Oh, that's great.
And the campaign that ran was only the hands. They didn't use the faces at all, and they didn't even want to shoot the faces.
But
and I was like,
you want to take advantage of
like,
how you don't
seriously?
You don't want to just go, oh, Morgan Freeman was here
Yeah,
earlier.
exactly.
Here's a picture of his hand. Like, how do we know
I was
that?
like, I'm going to
Yeah.
shoot it anyway,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, yeah.
So I built a second set with like the negative lighting. So you've got a black background with a white edge, as opposed to a white background with a black edge, and just decided to do
Right.
this diptych thing.
Right.
And this, it was an amazing group of people. Like, no one says no to Nelson Mandela. It was just like anybody that they wanted basically said, sure, I'm in. And it became this pretty so the technique was born out of trying to get as much detail and grit out of someone's hand as possible, and just crunching all the details in there.
Right.
And and then I sort of had to shoot the faces in the similar type crunch to make it match. But, and it's definitely not the style you want to shoot everybody in all the time, but it's a cool look, and so this was very well received, won a bunch of awards, and you sort of became a little bit of a calling card look for me, which then a lot of people have called to say, we want that look on whatever we have. Right. So if you skip forward a few,
Lawrence, I'm just going to talk about Lawrence Fishburne's pinky is really
well,
really
that's
short.
the thing is these hands are actually a little bit more expressive than everyone's face, because we all know what Lawrence's face looks like, but you haven't quite seen that before. So he's I think that's my favorite hand. It's just so gnarled and
and the fingers curved. De Niro's hand.
On that shoot was one time in my career I've had complete catastrophic camera failure.
And that's on this shoot, not in front of De Niro.
In front of De Niro.
In front
with him.
That's
there.
like the worst guy thing to have.
Yeah, he was very cool. Like
was he?
Yeah, we were set up at his place down in Tribeca, and the camera just completely conked out. Like as soon as all the tests are fine, of course. As soon as he steps on set, just nothing. So he's like, "Don't worry about it. I'll go upstairs. I'll come back down when you're ready. We got a camera, from
a place
a couple blocks away, and it was like,
you got a friend got on a bike with a camera. Yeah.
And he came back down and was like, cool. So
I just picture him being difficult for whatever reason.
No,
I don't know.
He was very chill. Like, he just doesn't give you a lot. He's just.
There's a question online.
Yeah, Kevin Mullet asks, who is your favorite person to shoot, celebrity or model?
Is that one of each or?
Okay. There's no follow-up questions.
Thanks for the question, Kevin.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Well, so the question was, who is your favorite person to shoot, celebrity or model? I would probably say celebrity, just because, it's someone who I ideally have heard of, and there's some backstory, and you're sort of interested to meet them. And whereas a model is, it's whoever. And nothing against models, and it can be great to shoot models because they bring something to the shoot. If they're experienced and know what's going on, they know how to move and stuff like that. Whereas celebrities might not. But yeah, and the other thing is,
how about your favorites? How about who was your favorite celebrity? I think that
tough.
That might be another.
Yeah, that's.
How about
you
got like 2 or 3?
One really fun experience was with Dennis Hopper, who I've been a big fan of. Okay, so anyway, just image-wise, this next little group of stuff is stuff that
people calling you up to.
Right, it was like, we want that black and white thing for Nike, for coal miners, for whatever, and it's been sort of a thing that keeps coming up, which has been amazing, you know. As a pro bono project, like that's why you do pro bono.
Yeah, because you want other stuff that's like
sure,
that.
Yeah.
So give me.
So Dennis Hopper was a great example. Like we were shooting him and with his PR people all over me saying you only have 5 minutes. It's like really like got to be fast, and like literally tapping me on the shoulder saying that's it. And it's like, fair enough. That's pretty par for the course. But then Dennis wants to hang out and talk photography. After.
Really?
Yeah, for like 45 minutes. Because he was a very accomplished photographer.
Yeah.
More so than me. Several books and gallery shows.
Right.
Shot on all the film sets he was on, and so and then PR's like, fair enough.
Yeah, if he wants to hang
so
with
then
Dennis
it was
Hopper.
like an amazing time talking about the intricacies of whatever with Dennis about photography. So
was he a Nikon guy too?
I don't remember. I think he might have been like Leica or something like that. I don't know.
All right, next favorite guy.
Next favorite, Aaron Eckhart, really cool. He's also quite into photography, and sort of took an interest. And it was one of those scheduling things too, where I was shooting him with the cast, and he showed up first, and we had to like wait for the cast. And so like we're just kind of shooting the shit for an hour.
That's cool.
So it's when you get time to like actually have a relationship with people, then it a lot of times it's just too fast, And of course there's Shaquille O'Neal, who
boom shakalaka.
Yeah, that's a whole story with that one. So I shot him
is he in here?
Yeah, I don't know, maybe not anytime soon anyway.
Okay.
I'll try to tell this story quickly. I was shooting him for a magazine in Miami when he was down there playing for the Heat. We shot him at this hotel in South Beach on the roof, and he shows up by himself in like a beat up white Suburban. And we're like, that's
right.
it. And he's like, that's my undercover car. It's like Shaq's gonna be undercover anywhere.
The moment he gets out of anything.
I know, exactly. So it's finally, it's not like some giant Bentley, but whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So he comes out. He's just super cool, down to earth. Like we have a great time, shoot for whatever, in 2 hours, and then we're wrapped, and he's like, "What are you guys doing tonight?" And we're like, "Nothing." And he's like, "Why don't you come over? I'm having a party at my house."
All right. Well, you can't you cannot say no to that, right?
So
how do you say no to you can't say no to Shaq?
So he calls his assistant, puts us on the list, and leaves. And we have no idea, like if that's five other people,
just you
right,
and him,
or like
or is it
500 people.
Right.
We have no clue
Yeah.
like what we're getting into.
Yeah.
So we take a cab to Star Island, which is this island out between like Miami.
Oh
and,
yeah. We
like,
tried to get out there, but they wouldn't let us in
Right.
when we were out of Miami.
It's just like this mansion island.
Yeah.
And as soon as we get over the bridge, we're in luxury car traffic. Just, Ferraris, Bentleys, Lamborghinis, and our yellow cab, and we're like, oh. So we get out.
You
There's
should have
like
taken Uber XL.
Yeah,
right.
So we have just no clue what we're getting into. And we get out, and there's like a red carpet with paparazzi outside the gate. And we go in, and it's like Moroccan Nights themed event with like big tents, like Bedouin tents in the lawn, and belly dancers and camels roaming around, and hookahs and stuff. And the whole Miami Heat team is there.
Wow.
With like a 10-to-1 ratio on models. and we're just like me and this other writer dude just wandering around, and we know Shaq, and we find him, and we're like, you know, the only person we know is
Yeah,
Shaq,
what's up,
you know,
man?
and we fully expect him to be like, who are you?
Right.
You know? He was like, hey, what's up? I'm glad you made it. You know, have fun. You know. And so
Now
we
I love
wander
Shaq
around.
even.
Yeah,
I love
totally.
Shaq even
Right?
more.
And then at like 11 o'clock, a giant yacht pulls up to his private dock with Ja Rule on it, who gives a big show, like in the, you know, nuts.
Was Ja Rule famous at the time?
Yes.
Okay.
It was Ja Rule appropriate at the time.
Is there another question?
Yep. Samir asks Scott.
Samir.
Question. Since you've been at it for a bit, what are you doing to keep the work fresh and exciting for yourself?
Samir asks,
Samir. So,
since he's been at it for a bit,
right.
Scott meaning, what does he do to keep the work fresh
And exciting.
and exciting?
And exciting. Thanks, Samir.
That's to you.
I know Samir, good friend.
Why is he asking?
Yeah. The key, the answer to that is projects, personal projects. Try to keep something happening that.
I'm just going to flip through images
Yeah, totally.
here. So
This is men's health stuff, fitness
as
stuff.
you answer the question.
Yeah, just try to find something that's interesting to you, that you know, you have maybe some entree into a world or whatever it might be, and push that on the side as much as you can, and keep things fresh and new, you know, as opposed to just sitting around waiting the phone to ring and shooting whatever comes along.
Right.
Which you should also do. But
So talk to me about a personal project that you've done recently.
right. So I mean, I kind of consider the Mandela one a personal thing, even though what didn't come from me. It became the way I put my twist on it. It became one. And that had sort of all the fruits of a good personal project with the style that it created. Then, like right now, I'm actually doing one about people with scars and the stories behind them.
Oh, let me find that image.
It's
Did
like the
my
last
laptop
one.
crap up?
Unplug and plug the thing.
Okay.
Try it.
Sorry, we're trying to find some imagery. All right.
It's the last one in that other.
It's the last one and the other one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to just bring up the other.
Yeah. So, sorry, dead air.
There we go. Yeah, keep talking. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so this is one of those images from this scars project that I'm working on right now, which is people who have a prominent scar, and then it comes with an extended caption, which is the story of what happened, how they got it, and then how they sort of feel about themselves afterwards, how their
Life has changed. And
how their life has changed, how they feel about themselves, their body image, how other people view them, and it's been a really fun, and I think cathartic thing for a lot of people to be a part of. That, you know, some people who might have been hiding their scar or whatever have, if they've agreed to be in it, have had a great experience, sort of showing that side
Right.
of themselves, and it's been cool.
yeah, like I said, my brother's got a big scar on his chest from open heart surgery when he was younger. Yeah. I want to go to
sorry.
this. I want to go to this image because this is
Sure.
one of my. Even before I met you, this was one of the images I was using
Right.
on the homepage of Photoserve.com.
Right,
and
right.
it's got the scar
Oh, there we go.
component
Yeah,
in
look at
there,
that.
and
Wow.
it's got all of these different. Was it for DirecTV?
Yes.
Yeah.
I've had an amazing run with the good people at DirecTV. We've had an awesome relationship over the years, and this was that campaign that they did with Rob Lowe with cable and Rob Lowe with DirecTV, and the Rob Lowe with cable was a super weird Rob, and these are all the different ones. So starting from the left, that's paranoid Rob with the camera, peaked in high school Rob, deadbeat Rob, who has the scar from selling his kidney for
right?
$200
Yeah.
instead of saving $200 by switching to DirecTV.
Oh yeah.
Meathead Rob, and then poor decision Rob, who gets face tattoos.
And then
regular
Rob.
was- yeah. So these were, you know, this was shot at the same time as the TV campaign, and which was incredible because he was one of these weird Robs for a whole day, and we just had all this downtime, and would sort of come to the photo set and hang out and, you know, riff on how weird that that particular Rob
Right.
would be.
I love this. So I'm going to go to one of these questions that are on my thing because I
Sure.
think we should start wrapping up.
Yep.
If you had any advice to give to a photographer who is at Ithaca College right now, or thinking about taking a picture or watching this podcast,
Yeah.
what would, other than picking a great time to get off a bus on 42nd Street,
Yeah.
what would be the advice?
Assuming they want to be a professional photographer and really go down that road.
Well, that would be, yeah.
You know, because there's lots of other ways to go in photography, but if that's the real goal, I would say it's kind of like in the film industry where you're not really going to work your way up. You're not going to be like a PA who's going to get promoted to be a third assistant camera is going to be promoted to be a second assistant camera, and then eventually you're going to direct a movie. No,
it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't
No.
happen.
Yeah,
So, and the same kind of happened in photography. Like you need to. So in the film world, what you do is you make a movie, a small one or whatever, on credit cards or whatever, and you put your stake in the ground out there. And it's kind of the same in photography. You have to do a project or put some sort of meaningful, ideally good work out in the world, and people will notice it, and then all of a sudden you're a photographer,
Right.
And that's really the key, is to find a project early on that hopefully you can self-finance and really actually do, and get it out there, and then people will notice you for that. And for me, I was working sort of steadily, but that Mandela thing really put me on the map as far as like,
Right.
People taking me seriously as someone who's doing something interesting, So that's my advice, would be to not don't expect to get promoted by others through the ranks. Do it put yourself out there as the guy,
Right.
or the woman who's, worth something.
And I think what we're also talking about is take advantage of all the situations that you're put into.
Yeah.
You're asked to shoot hands of celebrities. You have a
Sure.
celebrity, you have access. Why not ask? Because if you don't ask, you don't get.
Yeah, for sure.
in life.
Right. Well, the same thing with that story of the Times Square thing. If I had just hung out and left, who knows where I'd be. If you had to take that one little extra step to ask to push 10% more to see what happens.
That opportunity is really once in a lifetime. You
Yeah.
wouldn't go back to Times Square the next day at the same time, and that would be going on again.
Totally. Yeah.
There's no way.
And there's a lot of luck too. I mean, the story about how I was the guy who got sent to Sundance was super lucky too.
Right.
I happened to be in the right place at the right time, and it's in a different way. But
Right.
that I was lucky, and some cool people, were good to me.
Right. Also, back to the if you don't ask, you don't get. Don't be afraid to ask.
Right.
You went over to this guy. You didn't know him. You had your
Right.
bags with you. You said, "Hey, I'm looking for an internship."
Right.
All he could have done was say no,
Right.
and then you would have the same thing you did before you.
Well,
came in.
interestingly, years later, he told me that he actually noticed that I stood there for 5 hours.
Oh,
and
really?
watched the
Oh,
shoot.
wow.
And other people came up to him during the shoot while he was doing his thing and were like, hey, man, you got any work for me or whatever? And he was just like, no. But he saw that I had sort of had the respect or tact or whatever to wait till the end. And so he thought, well, maybe it's worth a shot.
And then here's the one last question. You're out to eat, and what's your favorite dessert?
If I'm out to eat.
You're out to eat, you're having a nice meal, and they're going to bring over a dessert tray. We're at that one of those old restaurants like in Little Italy or whatever.
I have to go strawberry shortcake.
You have to go strawberry shortcake? All right, good. All right, I think we're going to wrap up. One question?
Question.
What about PDN Photoserve? How do you like being a member of
Oh, yeah. How has your life changed
Yeah.
since being a PDN Photoserve?
Yeah, no, I've been with PDN for a long time, like 10 years or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe since the beginning. And it's been, a great portal to just have the work out there. And, it's one of those things, the more places you are online and then out in the world, the better. And, it's been great. It's always, it's probably the one outlet I've been with the longest.
Oh, that's
So,
awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've only been running the Photoserve website for a little less than a year now.
Right.
So I don't know that history, but that's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
I appreciate that you're a member. If anybody's interested in being a part of Photoserve, give me a call or just email me. All my information's
Stop
on
you on the street?
photoserve.com. Stop me on the street. I want to thank both Adorama. I want to thank the Photo Brigade. I want to thank Scott for going
Thank
down
you,
this
Peter.
road for
Thank
me.
you.
And there
It was a
should be
pleasure.
more of these. We're going to try and do one of these a month with our Photoserve members, and we'll try not to bore anybody. Okay. And we're out.
Well, no, just say thanks.
Thank you and bye.